All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. Every Friday, we are here to bring leadership, inspiration, and answer any questions you guys have. I've got as my co-host today, Todd Bookspan, coming live to you out of Tempe, Arizona. What's up, Todd?
Hey, you said inspiration. I'm excited for some inspiration today. That's what this is all about. I know we provide good content, but inspiration, that's a new one. I like it.
Yeah, it is. It's not a new one. We're always delivering inspiration. So before we bring our special guest on stage, we do want to give you guys a heads up. Anyone that did purchase tickets for the Modern Real Estate Summit, you got the live event and you had it for 30 days afterwards. In fact, we extended it a couple of weeks. So you have that through the end of May. But as of May 1st, but as of June 1st, that pass will no longer be available. If you do want to buy the 1-year pass, so you have it for a full 365 days, that will be on sale. After June 15th, it's going to be $190 or $199, but you will be able to buy it. Todd, is it for $100 or $99 that folks can buy an upgrade 1-year pass?
99. We're giving them a bargain, $1 less than 100. But yeah, those who already bought the pass will be able to upgrade to the annual pass for 99, which I think will be a very popular option based on the reorganization of the content and the additional value that will be there.
Yeah, we've done a lot of editing. We're organizing it around leadership, mindset, strategy, execution, team building, mortgage strategy, and a few other social media and marketing. So it's being edited, it's being organized so that it can be a 1-year resource to you. Jonathan, you delivered an amazing keynote at that event, and you will be under mindset. I hope that's a category that you like. We were debating between leadership and mindset, but we put your presentation under mindset. What do you think of that?
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. So guys, the topic of the day is what is the single one trait that determines and differentiates world-class human performance in a sustainable way versus non-world-class? And I've been asked that question a lot of times because I've interviewed over 1,000 loan officers. Dave, what are the common traits between the most successful loan officers in America? And I kind of know where the conversation is going to go with Jonathan, but I've never answered the question the way Jonathan's going to answer it. When we're going to ask him, Jonathan, what differentiates world-class performers versus non-world-class? So guys, get ready for something that's going to be one of the most valuable mortgage coach calls we've ever done. At least I believe that it will, from the prep that I've done with Jonathan. While I've interviewed Jonathan a bunch of times, I think his accomplishments are so incredible that I just got to go through who this guy is, especially if you're new to the community. So Jonathan Roche is an award-winning fitness expert. He's a best-selling author, 12-time Ironman triathlete, 25-time Boston Marathon finisher, 25 times. Who's even been in the mortgage business for 25 years on this? The guy has finished the Boston Marathon 25 times. He is the founder and CEO of Breakthrough Health, holds 2 patents on personalized interval training. Jonathan is a peak performance coach for both personal or professional athletes, CEOs, and other top producers. In fact, 4 of America's top 10 loan officers coach with Jonathan on mindset, health, fitness, and just being world-class. Like, you want to be world-class, you want to perform at your best, that's what he does. In addition to that, he coaches, Jonathan guides leadership teams. So he facilitates leadership teams and companies to peak performance. So at the end of it, whatever your peak performance is, we've got a guy that's dedicated his life to that. And he's also one of those guys, like a lot of people on stage, they teach things, he practices those things. And the fact that he's done 25 marathons is evidence of that. So he is what he teaches. So Jonathan, welcome to the Mortgage Coach stage.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave, for the introduction. And I'm super excited to hang out with you and Todd and unpack this over the next hour. What we're going to get into is the most valuable thing that I can provide to the mortgage coach community that I have been blessed to share with countless athletes, CEOs, leadership teams, anyone that I'm blessed to serve. I unpack this for. If we're going to crystallize it down, that's what we're going to go through today. I've been guiding people for over 20 years. Some of the athletes that I currently coach, some of the CEOs are just really some of the most world-class performers on the planet. But what we're going to discuss right now is the key habit, the key differentiator. So really quickly, before I explain what that habit is, I just want to unpack, again, quickly, what this habit does as far as each person's ability to truly be in a state of peak performance personally and professionally. So this habit leads to your thought patterns, which we all have, right? We have thought patterns. Our thought patterns then lead to our actions. What we're thinking, what we're focusing on, leads to our actions, which actions are really habits. And then the actions and habits lead to the results or lack of results. Super, simple, right? Simple enough. So if you think of a mortgage professional, what you think about, what you focus on, then leads to your actions or non-actions, and then leads to your results as far as what's happening on a monthly basis, annualized basis, how many families you're blessed to serve. Now there's two additional things that happen on the back end of that we're not going to unpack today, but they're profound. Your results or lack of results directly impact your self-worth. Now, I don't mean ego, self-worth. We invest time, energy, focus, and follow through in the things we value. So when we value something, then we do those four things. And if our self-worth keeps taking a hit because the results aren't measuring up to what we know in our heart we can accomplish, that becomes detrimental over time. And then the last part, and then I'm going to swing back to explain actually what this one key habit is. What happens at the end of that self-worth thing, and this is extremely important for mortgage professionals, is that either increases the self-worth or diminishing of the self-worth then has an impact on your confidence. How confident are you when you sit down with the Smiths that you can quickly shift the conversation from a rate discussion to a value discussion? How confident are you? Confidence is a combination of preparation. It also has a central component to it, which is self-worth. So that's why these dominoes that I just walked through are incredibly important. The first domino is what we're going to unpack today. And the simple term I use for it is your voice choice. And I've taken every athlete, every executive, every team I've guided through this. Your voice choice. Simple enough statement, which is each morning we get to decide, are we going to listen to our positive voice or are we going to listen to our negative voice today? And I've unpacked this in the past, which is if we do not actively choose our positive voice, then more than likely by default, we pick our negative voice, which seems like, is this a bunch of rah-rah? No, this is how world-class people trounce everyone else. Whether you're talking an athlete, a mortgage professional, it doesn't matter the playing field. If you want to truly attain greatness, you have to nail the voice choice. And the reason being is if you mistakenly or by default choose your negative voice then creates the lens through which you view the day and experience the day. And your negative voice focuses on what's wrong, focuses on the problems. And oh my gosh, we have 3 meetings with new families today and we have 2 closes and the traffic might be crazy because it's Memorial Day weekend. And then, the negative voice is pointing out what's wrong with your spouse and your house and the weekend plans. And it's this kind of like, almost like a negative person. You come into this space, you're like, what's your deal? What's his deal? You almost want to like move away. A lot of people are living with that in their head. So the negative voice is focusing on what's wrong. Positive voice is fired up. It's focusing on what's right. It's Friday morning, Memorial Day weekend. This is awesome. Unofficial launch this summer. We're just about to, or we ditched the mass. We've got, 3 potential families we're meeting with today. We're definitely going to be blessed to serve. We got 2 closes this afternoon, get these people into their dream homes. My wife's in a great mood. Like, we're going to have an awesome weekend. Those 2 people are actually in the exact same situation. Like, nothing externally has changed, but you can imagine what type of experience the one who's listening to the negative voice is going to have versus the one who's listening to their positive voice. It is such a simple thing, but when you get super intentional and you commit to this, it's life altering. So you want to make that voice choice in the morning. I'm going to unpack the science behind it. This isn't my theory on behavioral change. I'm going to explain it. And we're going to get into some details and provide you with some tools. But for you personally, nailing that voice choice each morning and then checking in periodically throughout the day, which voice am I listening to? Am I listening to the positive voice? Am I listening to the negative voice? That will completely alter not only your perspective, but your execution, your ability to take action, which then obviously dictates your results, which then dictates the impact on your self-worth and ultimately your confidence. Again, we'll unpack that on a different call, but we want to be in this maximized state of confidence when we sit down with the Smiths. We know before we go in there, they're definitely partnering with us. We are going to be blessed to get these guys into their dream home. You know that. Again, it's not an arrogance play. It's a preparation. It's a confidence in yourself. And if you tie it all back, it comes down to this decision around, am I going to listen to my positive voice or my negative voice? Now, from a leadership standpoint, all of your team members have also made that choice or by default chosen their negative voice each morning. And if you think of that, a lot of times we observe the actions of team members and we think like, what do you mean they didn't lock the Smiths? Like, no, we talked about it. We needed to lock them. And then now you have this issue and you're thinking, that's crazy. You don't know what that team member maybe has going on internally, which is really what we're going to unpack in these next 20 to 30 minutes. Dave or Todd, you guys want to jump in with any thoughts or questions yet before we unpack this?
Well, I've already taken a half a page of notes, and I love just the voice choice. And not only thinking about how do you start your day and picking your voice, in the morning, but how we really need to do that every hour of the day. I mean, like, we're always just especially in the mortgage business. There are two types of loans with problems and loans with solved problems, period. So you've literally got to do that. And then again, we got Todd, Mr. Win by Noon, and there's nothing you can control more than your morning. And the second thing that you can control the most is winning by noon. So I just feel like, everyone listening to this, think about and just be honest. Like, you don't have to be positive. Let's face it, negativity is a thing. It's part of the human experience. And without negativity, we wouldn't have positivity. So it's okay, but just be aware of it. Todd, anything you want to comment on before we hand it back to Jonathan?
Well, I think you just nailed something that's so important, Jonathan. It reminds me of my days as a competitive cyclist. And, I just knew when I woke up and when I had the right mindset and I showed up. I mean, I knew before the race started if I was going to win or at least contend for the win or not. And I just knew that there was times where I got on that start line and I thought, you know what, this isn't my day. And guess what? It wasn't my day. And so as Dave, you tied into the win by noon piece, it was no different for me as an originator. It's 8 a.m. I start working. And am I going to have that negative voice tell me, oh, what if there's something really super important in my email inbox that I have to do first before I do my proactive prospecting, the things I know I need to do to drive my business? And it's just funny how those correlations come in business and sports.
Yeah, absolute game changer. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, one more thing, and you may be covering this later, but I feel like we live in a world now where there's just so much negative news. And are you going to cover that later? How and when or if to even consume news? Because it can just take you off your game. I mean, I never do news in the morning. I try to, and if I am going to, if there is something where I need to be informed, I will, do that in the morning. But any thoughts on that? Or are you going to cover that later in your presentation?
I'm going to cover it right now in probably less than 60 seconds, which is news is toxic. Yeah, as mortgage professionals, you need to know what's going on with the market, but there's a super simple way to be spoon-fed that. You all have your own processes on that. But consuming news in general, I've watched zero news. Like, I haven't watched 30 seconds of news. I don't even remember the last time. I definitely haven't in the 15 months since the health situation broke. I don't know what's going on with anything. I learned about it from my mother-in-law or from a client. I had a client 2 weeks ago ask me, he mentioned something, I don't even remember the guy's name. It was and he said, can you believe that? And I said, I don't know who that is. He said, you don't know who that is? It's this senator and he's in this whole thing. I go, I have no idea about that. It doesn't impact how I'm serving you or what I'm gonna do today. I have no idea who that is. It doesn't matter. I don't travel in that space because I wanna be on fire, always. It doesn't mean every second, because that's not reality, but we get to dictate whether we're going to consume positivity that lifts us up and elevates us or not. And the beautiful thing about our current world is there is positive content everywhere. there's videos, there's books, and you can go onto YouTube and search motivation videos. There's all the tools on the planet to do the opposite of what news does. You do not need to consume news. My advice to anyone who's like, no, I like the news, it freaks me out not to know what's going on. Okay, watch 5 minutes, read 5 minutes online of whatever news site you go to so that you know what's going on with the world. Besides that, someone will tell you, and then if it really piques your interest, like, oh my, I didn't hear about that, then you can go check it out. Besides that, forget that. This is not what world-class people do. I'm a freak about this with my clients. Doesn't matter who the athlete is, who the CEO is. I reel in their news habit because it diminishes excellence. It diminishes gratitude, happiness, positivity, vibe. And remember, it's not my quote. I mention it almost each time I'm on. I'm blessed to be on here, Dave and Todd, which is our energy announces us to the room before we speak. Don't miss that. Your energy announces you to the room before you speak. So what are you saying? It doesn't mean you have to talk 100 miles an hour. From Boston, I talk really fast, but it's not that. But you need to have an oomph to you when you walk in to sit down with the Smiths. You know in your heart that they're definitely partnering with you. And that is not someone who's been consuming news in the morning and they're freaking out about this or that. Forget that. Maybe you watch a motivation video, you're fully confident, you're comfortable, you go in. I'm definitely working with the Smiths. You go, you walk them through, they mention the rates. 2 sentences later, you're having a value conversation. Boom, this is how we're going to partner together. As of this second, I've got your back. We're going to do this thing. They sign the documents, you're out of there. Then you go, I asked you about news. Now you talk about the Smiths. It all relates. It all relates. I am so anti-news. So that's my answer. It wasn't a minute, it was probably 3, but that's my view on news.
I align with that answer, and I wrote down news equals toxic, and I agree with you, especially in today's world. And I get my news from listening to a podcast like a Joe Rogan podcast or a Jocko Willink. They cover some topics, but I'm listening to, I'm getting so much value within that. So I definitely align with that. And remember, guys, this is a mastermind. If you are watching this live, you can ask questions live, and we'll have some time to get to those towards the end. And if you're watching the recording in YouTube, put the questions down below. Jonathan is a regular leader. He is the chief of positive vibe and energy in the mortgage coach community. And if we didn't get it answered, we'll either answer it via text or we'll add it to the next call that we do. Anyways, keep it rocking, brother.
Okay, awesome. So real quickly, I'm just going to invite everyone that's either watching live or on recording, resist the temptation from your negative voice to bail. We got to get to the calls and they haven't even gotten into the topic yet. And I think I'll circle back later or whatever. Don't do that. The next 20 minutes has the potential to alter the trajectory of your life, your family, multiple generations. That is a ridiculous statement. It's 100% accurate. These next 20 minutes, stay lined, stay dialed in as I go through this. We're going to talk about the 3 phases of controlling your inner dialogue. What does that mean? Your voice choice. There's 3 phases to doing that. And we want to nail these phases so that you can take control of that inner dialogue, and then you can hit a state of peak performance personally and professionally. Now, the 3 phases are, number 1, acceptance, that you actually have a negative voice. A lot of people, particularly like high performers, right? They're a top mortgage professional or this, they're already on the all-star team in the NBA, whatever. They're kind of like, I'm good. Here's the thing. If you're breathing, you have a negative voice. That's my view. But phase 1 is accepting that you have a negative voice. Every athlete, every performer, every person on the planet has that voice. I'm going to read, here's Tim McGraw's biography called Grit and Grace. By the way, for all the guys out there, if you want to elevate your game, bring your spouse or your girlfriend to a Tim McGraw concert. And he shows up in his white t-shirt with like an 8-pack. Like, my wife's awesome. We have an incredible relationship. I'm pretty sure she would have left me and married him when I brought her to the concert. So that's just a side tip, and we're going to cover that today. In his biography, right, one of the world's most profound performers, here's what he shares. Back in this period, I wasn't comfortable sitting back, watching and waiting in stillness. In hindsight, I think it's because if things got quiet, I'd hear the old ghosts that tend to follow at my heels like shadows. the ones that say, you're just a small town country singer on a lucky streak. What do you know about success? That's Tim McGraw. My bookshelf over there is full of biographies, business people, athletes, everything else. A very large portion of them explain everyone has that voice. The truly world-class performers, athletes, executives, performers, they have the tools and strategies to control who's at the podium. It's totally oversimplified, but it's spot on. Phase number one is acceptance. Phase number two is awareness of exactly what's going on with your inner dialogue. That's what we're going to unpack in a couple minutes here. How big an opportunity is this? Notice I use the word opportunity, not problem. Some people go, oh my gosh, that's a major problem. Well, here's the thing. We're going to unpack actually how much time each of you spend with your negative voice. And take, for instance, say it's 2 months, which, believe me, it gets high quickly, but let's just say for simplicity, it's 2 months. What you've done so far in your life, personally and professionally, you've been doing with a 10-month year. So what in the world's going to happen when we claw back those 60 days and apply them to your self-care, apply them to your personal development, apply them to become a mortgage coach ninja, apply them to your little cutie 5-year-old who wants to go mess around on the weekend? All of that time is there to be taken back. That's why I use the word opportunity. It's not a problem. It was a problem when you didn't have the tools. Now it's an opportunity. And then the third phase is tools and strategies. We're going to unpack a little bit. I touched on the news one. I spend all of my coaching time, doesn't matter who the athlete is, doesn't matter who the CEO is, tools and strategies for winning mentally. I rarely even have an exercise discussion or a nutrition discussion. I touch on those lightly with all of these groups. It's all mindset. These are the 3 phases. Now, I'm going to give you some background so that you understand this is based on science. It's not based on, oh, I ran a bunch of Boston marathons and now I cracked the code on people and their behavior. So the thought leader in the science of behavioral change is Dr. James Prochaska. I probably wouldn't even bother writing it down as far as what I'm coaching you on right now. Dr. James Prochaska, he is the thought leader. Now, Dr. Prochaska came up with what are called the 6 stages of behavioral change, which as your coach, I'm also not going to bore you with those. They're not relevant to what I'm trying to equip you with as far as nailing your voice choice. But Dr. Prochaska created these 6 stages of behavioral change, which just really talk about your readiness to change, your readiness to beat a disempowering habit or to establish an empowering habit. And now Dr. Prochaska's 6 stages are used by AA, they're used by the American Cancer Society, National Institute of Health. All their change modification programs are built on Prochaska's 6 stages. This is the guy. And so when I started Breakthrough Health, my company 16 years ago, myself and my teammates from day one have been students of his. We've always consumed, that's really what we're doing. We're trying to guide people through behavioral change. It's not about streaming exercise videos or rah-rah coaching or motivation videos. It's not. It's about what's going on mentally that allows an individual to move up the peak performance ladder. So I was blessed to be going to an event that Dr. Prochaska was speaking at. It was like 5,000 people. He was keynote speaker. I got an email a couple months in advance. Do you want to spend a bonus day in a smaller group with Dr. Prochaska? Which of course I'm like, get my debit card up, like I'm in, right? So I go the day before the conference. It's Dr. Prochaska. It's his wife, who's also a behavior scientist. It's myself and 11 health insurance executives. The 14 of us spent 6 hours in a classroom. Now, at that point, he had spent 42 years studying people and their attempts to change. And so you can imagine what those 6 hours were like. They were the most profound of my professional career to date, and they probably will be by the time I finish up. And within that time, which is super important, stay in the lane here, you guys, right? Because your negative voice, again, is we're going to get going, or he's going on about this. Stay right in the lane. This is beyond important to you. It's beyond important to your kids, your team, everyone you're blessed to ideally lead. They all have this opportunity to nail their voice choice and to see how that materializes in their performance, personally and professionally. So within our time with Dr. Prochaska, he asked us, what do you think the number 1 factor is for an individual to beat a disempowering habit or to establish an empowering habit? And he let us go around the room for 10 minutes. We said everything from your mindset, to who you hang out with, to, your support system. We gave every answer imaginable during these 10 minutes. And he would say the same thing every time. That's a great guess, but that's not it. He'd say it over and over. Finally, we had exhausted all potential ideas. And he said the following statement. I remember like it was 2 minutes ago. He said, after 42 years of studying people in their attempts to beat disempowering habits and establish empowering habits, it comes down to one thing: belief from their coach. So stay with me. Belief from their coach. So you hear that, and for me as a coach, right? My ego wants to go, oh yeah, great, good, because you definitely believe in all these athletes and these executives. Of course I do. But here's what's interesting. During the next break, I gassed it to him. Like I honestly like sprinted to him. And I said, Dr. Prochaska, could you tell me if the following statement is correct or off? And I explained what Breakthrough does, streaming videos, we do coaching, etc. I said, would you say that each individual is actually their own head coach, and that we as their coaches or even leaders of companies are just their assistant coaches? He said, bingo. So stay with me, because I'm about to tie this to the voice choice. So a lot of people that get into, so maybe you have some team members, right? Where they're good people, they have an amazing work ethic, but they just can't, it's like, man, she can't break through. The reason she probably can't break through is because her head coach is her negative voice. Her head coach was lecturing her this morning on why she looked bad in the pants, or why she blew it on the conference call yesterday. She shouldn't mention that thing, and everyone thought it was weird, and she's being talked down. Meanwhile, what you're seeing as a leader, all of us, and this includes our children, by the way, we're seeing this, you guys, on the iceberg. This is what we get. We get the smile, oh yeah, Dave, oh yeah, good, we make the calls, or oh yeah, Todd, we're doing this or this. Here's what's going on in their minds. Hopefully that visual connects with you guys. People have all these inner discussions going on depending upon whether they nailed or even are aware of the voice choice. That then dictates their thought patterns and their actions and how they show up and perform. And we're going to unpack that second phase, which is awareness of the opportunity, in a couple minutes. I just want to give the opportunity for Dave or Todd to jump in on this. Any questions, any thoughts?
Todd, you go first this time.
I could go for hours, just because of the fact that, what I said earlier, I just believe that winners know they can win. And, having, family with mental health issues, where that inner voice is their inner coach is so loud that they can't turn it off. I just think it's so important to, think about it yourself. Right. So Jonathan, I love this whole thing of your voice choice, because Dave talked about it, right? Morning routine. He talked about the whole idea that, for me, it's all about win by noon, getting those most important priorities done. And so I guess I'm going to, I'll let you keep unpacking it so I don't ask a question that gets us derailed off there. But it's just, as someone who's been around so many top performers and coached so many top performers myself, the fact that it comes down to this one thing is, I'm just digging it.
So I'm digging it too. You mentioned it's awareness of what voice you're in, and that the one thing that changes performance is your own coach. But what about, there's something in emotional IQ about, if you can name it, you can tame it. So like, whatever emotion you're in, if you can name that emotion, you can tame that emotion. But that's a lot easier said than done. And I also think it's easier said than done for some people than others. Some people come with a natural gift to be able to have the self-awareness of where they're at. Any advice you have for folks that, and I'm thinking right now of an executive I talked to recently, where they're getting ready to have a critical conversation with an employee who's a good performer. There's a lot of things they love about this person, but this person kind of loses it, sometimes. And I'm willing to bet, just because I've had people like that in my life, personally and professionally, they don't even know it. Like, they're just like, they don't have the awareness to make the course correction. Any advice you have for either the people that might have an awareness issue, or for the leaders and mentors on this call that want to help someone become more accurate with their awareness. Does that make sense?
It's an awesome question and super important, because all of this is easy on paper. Like, oh, cool, I got to name, okay, yeah, I'll just nail the voice choice and my life would be great.
Right.
But if you're not in the right state, it's kind of the whole chicken and the egg, which is really your question, right? Like, if you're not vibing, how are you going to make that choice in the first place? And my response to that is, why our self-care of water, sleep, nutrients, exercise, positive content, why all of that is so important in order to get you in a more energized state. Because if your energy is at like a 1, you're almost guaranteed you're going to choose your negative voice. And it's, you don't have the weaponry to fend off the negative voice just charge into the podium. For instance, the executive you're talking about, Dave, where his negative voice just goes right to the podium, boom, and runs over the employee. And then he has to spend the afternoon being like, maybe he doesn't even acknowledge it, but it's like, that's not, like, this is not 1950. You can't do that to people anymore. Like, there was a better way to get the point across. But negative voice at the podium, he goes in, or he or she goes in. The point is, we want to make sure we're in a perpetual state of guarding our energy, separate from all of this. I talk about this energy level 0 to 5, right? You can feel a 5. Someone, like, again, that whole energy announces you to the room before you speak. You want to be in a perpetual state of trying to nurture and earn your 5 through these habits, because what happens is, as you're doing that, you also make that voice choice super easy, right? Compared to when your energy is at a 1, it can be brutal. This is a difficult journey to cross this bridge, which is, how do you make some of these self-care choices before you even start nailing the inner dialogue voice choice? Is that making sense, Dave and Todd?
It does. Well, one takeaway I have for that is, almost, if someone is in a, let's just say a negative voice, you've got an employee, a family member, a friend that's, they're not in a positive state. The first place you go is to help. Like, are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating right? Because if you're physically not there, there's no chance that you're even going to be able to identify and be aware around that. So you can't, and I do find, like, when we're trying to help people, we're just attacking the action. You lost it. It's unacceptable. Don't do it again. And it's probably not going to solve the problem. Anyways, well, let's keep going. I might come back to this just because it's something that I think is so important. And I know when you and I did the prep call on this, I thought about the 1,000+ interviews with the most amazing, most successful loan officers I've ever met that are level 5 energy when I'm interviewing them. They're level 5 performance in there was no exceptions. I could not think of one person I've interviewed where this person lives in a positive voice. Like, they're just grateful, happy, planning, growth mindset. And I couldn't think of one, like, okay, there's got to be some level 5 elite mortgage coach person I've interviewed that, no, they were negative and better. And no, there wasn't one. There was no exception. So I think this is super important for everybody on this call. And no matter where you're at in your journey, no matter where you're at today, remember, today doesn't define you. Today is just a day. Tomorrow's a new day. In fact, the next hour from now is a new hour, that we can all come out of this call with a new level of energy, a new level of focus, and a new level of control over our negative voice. So anyways, let's keep it rocking. I'll save my questions for the end, because I want to make sure we get the full Jonathan presentation here.
Yeah, awesome. Dave, I'll just piggyback one more thing on that, though, for the team, which is 99% of people learn their voice choice habit or lack of voice choice habit from their parents. So we're going to unpack 3 different versions of the negative voice in a couple minutes here. But the majority, for instance, females who talk themselves down and use words like FAT, which is a word that should never come out of anyone's mouth to describe anyone, especially themselves, it's because that's how their mom talks to herself, or if she's passed, that's how she talked to herself. And some people are like, you shouldn't say that. That's kind of like deep. No, this is how we honor our parents. We have the tools. We realize there is a voice choice this is how we end up setting our kids up where they have positive voices at the podium. They're fired up. Like they're thinking about the weekend and what's going on. And your 16-year-old daughter's fired up about going to the cookout tomorrow. She's not worried about how she looks in her pants or whatever. That you talk about a gift to the next generation. Like we're all in on our kids, all of us, Dave and Todd and me, every person who has a kid, we're freaks about it. This might be the number one thing we equip them with to have a remarkable life. I know, ridiculous statement, but I honestly believe it with every fiber of my being. If we can equip them to win the voice choice, then we've done what I call break the cycle. If you grew up in a situation where your mom and dad weren't super, positive all the time, maybe they weren't super negative, they're just kind of like neutral. They just didn't have the tools. You're just breaking the cycle. And then what happens is generations beyond, they don't know, like they would never have a female using the word FAT. It's like, our family talks about ourselves. We're talking about what's going right and how strong we are and remarkable. And anyway, we could unpack that at another point, but I just want to throw that out. Let's talk about these 3 versions of your negative voice. And what I want each of you to do, stay in the pocket, by the way. This is the point where some people are like, oh, it's kind of heavy. And now I've mentioned the family thing. Stay in the pocket. Get up and move if you need to. Grab some water. You've noticed I'm drinking water. Like, boom, stay as high energy as possible so your antenna is high and you could receive this. There's 3 versions of the negative voice. Here they are. Number 1, the bully. Just like it sounds. And it uses things, for females, it uses the word FAT, or you're lazy. Stupid is another word. Like even saying that, I'm like, oh, I should not say that. What's wrong with you? This always happens. Like stuff that like literally it just crushes your spirit. It's a bully. And a lot of people, particularly females, are dealing with this bully version of the negative voice a lot of their day. So that's the first version. So I want you to think about, like, is that something I have? Some people are like, oh, no, I'm good with that. I don't have that. Second version, distractor. Not super negative, not super positive. Distractor. Todd, we have those calls at 9 o'clock. I think we should, let's do the workout this afternoon. Let's just get in there. We'll get on it and we'll do that a little later. And what happens is that distractor version of our negative voice does exactly what the name is. It's just constantly distracting us. We'll do it later. Oh, we'll put that off. You know what? Tomorrow morning, Saturday is a great day. We don't have any calls. No craziness in the mortgage industry. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get on. And we're in this perpetual state of being distracted from the habits that fuel personal excellence. It's the distractor. And then the third version is what's called the buddy. And I named it the buddy because it comes across like it's your buddy. And it only comes out in 2 situations: when you're trouncing it or when you're in a state of turmoil. So I'll give an example of both. You dropped 2 pounds last week, you nailed 6 workouts, you feel like $1 million, you're on top of the world. Your spouse asks you, are you in for dessert? You've already had your 1 dessert for the week. Your buddy version of your voice goes, lighten up, you're killing it. You dropped 2 pounds last week, who cares? Just have a little dessert, it's not a big deal. Super friendly, it's all good. Oh yeah, and you're killing it, don't worry about the details. That version is called the buddy. Second time it comes out is when you're in a challenging situation, maybe like a health pandemic, and the voice says something like this: you know what, we got to stay focused. Let's run the mortgage. We'll keep running all what we're trying to do with your mortgage career. We'll take care of the kids. We'll shelve the weight. We'll shelve the health stuff. We'll get to that later. When things get normal again, we'll get back to our self-care. We'll get back to our health. So it comes across very buddy-ish, as if it's looking out for us. There are countless people that just fell for this for the last 15 months. And they're coming out of the foxhole realizing, like, man, forget my A game. I don't even have my B game. I have like my C+ right now, because they've totally let their self-care go out the window because it's too crazy right now. So what I want each of you to consider is, and it's tough, right? This is that point in the coaching where even my athletes and my executives are kind of like, man, he's normally like fired up, and now I'm kind of feeling like I'm coming down. Information is power when acted upon. You're getting clarity, you're getting awareness. That's why I call it awareness, this phase of, do you have one of these 3 voices? Dave or Todd, you guys want to jump in before I move on here? Questions, thoughts?
I think you're killing it, and I want you to unpack the whole thing, but I relate to everything you're saying. I love, the statement you said right after I started talking. I asked you a question. Most learn their voice choice from their parents, but just a reminder, all of us, we all get to pick. We can change our life every year, every month. We own who we are today. So I love it, dude. I'm taking lots of notes, getting lots of value. This is everything I was hoping it would be.
Todd, thank you for the compliments, Dave. Todd, thoughts, questions?
It's funny because I'm just rolling through it and realize, you just said it. There's so many people I've talked to who put everything on the shelf during COVID. And how often do you see, I find that when I'm nailing my workouts, I'm nailing my nutrition, I'm nailing my sleep, that everything else falls into place. Is that a pretty common parallel?
Yes. And the opposite is what you're also alluding to, Todd, where when a couple things fall out of place, everything starts falling out of place. You're like,
Totally makes sense. I've seen that in my personal life more than I'd like to admit. And in talking to, producers in real estate and mortgage over the last, year of this pandemic.
Awesome. I'm going to say one more thing, and for time's sake, we're not going to unpack it, maybe future call, which is, and I'll just start it with a very quick story, like a 30-second story. As soon as the health situation broke, if you're new to me being blessed to serve you, I don't call it the word. I just call it the health situation. I don't like the word. It makes me cringe. I don't use it. Health situation. That's the word. When the health situation broke, I called all of my athletes. Here's the conversation. When it really broke, like, oh my gosh, we got a big problem here. I said, you've just been handed the greatest opportunity of your professional career. As your coach, it's time to pounce on it. And they would all say, what do you mean by that? I said, everyone's about to go on autopilot, and the world-class people are going to elevate. They're going to look around and be like, let everyone else play Xbox. Let everyone else figure out when the league's going to come back. We're going. We're going to grow. We're going to act as if the season's starting next week. We're just going to, and the same thing applies to mortgage professionals or whatever playing field you're on. When your competitors are asleep, is the time to pounce. You could say, well, he's super competitive. I am super competitive. Business is the most competitive sport on the planet. And we want to be getting better when others are asleep at the wheel. Now that you know this, when you think of going in to meet with the Smiths, if the majority of your competitors don't even know about the voice choice, don't even know that they shouldn't be watching the news before meeting with the Smiths because they want to get their vibe on, you talk about your confidence to win score going up. You talk about elevating. I'm going to shelve that because I could unpack it for an hour. We're not going to touch it, but I'm just going to say to you, we want to start getting back in a competitive state. Like, we're here to win. I don't mean be greedy or ego. I just mean like, we want to be as remarkable in world class as we can be. Because guess what happens when that happens? You sleep well. Even the numbers, I didn't hit my biggest number ever last month. You sleep well. You left it all out there. Again, we'll unpack that for a future call. I'll get back in the lane here of these 3 versions of your negative voice. This is the point every one I've ever been blessed to coach, I go through. This is the down moment where you're like, gosh, this guy's not really lifting me up. I'm going the wrong direction. I mentioned before. Stay with me. This is rocket fuel for you and your family and your execution personally and professionally. We're just about to tap it. So I'm going to have you right now come up with the amount of time per day that you spend with each of these 3 versions of your negative voice. And so they add up quick. And I will say to you, I've been doing one-on-one peak performance coaching with professional athletes, CEOs, rock stars in the mortgage industry, all these people. I've been doing it since 2012. I am now at 4 people who have used minutes to answer this question. I'm not saying you can't be number 5, but most people, it's hours a day of bullying, distraction, or buddy. So don't overthink it. Come up with a number. Okay? Todd and Dave, I'm not going to put you on the spot and say, what's your number? Just give me a thumbs up if you've come up with your number. You have a number? All right, so take that number. By the way, for the whole audience right now, you're about to get infuriatingly mad. Not at me, not at yourself, at your negative voice. Because everyone, particularly you think of all of you rock stars in the mortgage industry, it's been like hanging onto a bull like for 18 months. And your biggest scarcity is time. You don't need time. Can't do it. We can't make things efficient. We're too busy. We just need to get through time. So take that number, if it's hours, and multiply it by 365. Okay. So we're coming up with the amount of hours per year. Now I just put in 2 hours in my calculator. So if it was 2 hours a day, that's 730 hours a year that you're stuck. You can't, when you're fending off the buddy or the distractor or the bully, you're not executing, you're not nailing the meeting, you're not getting your team fired up, you're not making things more efficient, you're stuck. You can think you're multitasking, but you're not, it's a myth. So you're stuck. So 730, now here's the thing, people go, oh wow, that's not good. You take 730 and you divide by 24 hours a day, that's a huge chunk of time, right? But here's the thing, that's not the math. How many hours are you awake per day? So you're gonna take this number of hours per year, and you guys are mortgage professionals, so don't lay your negative like, well, it's getting a little complicated. No, it isn't. You're a mortgage professional, it's not complicated. It's hours per year divided by 24 minus the amount of hours you sleep. That's the equation. So for me, it's 730. This is my thing, but the example I'm using, 730 divided by, I sleep, hypothetically, this person sleeps 7 hours a night, so they're awake for 17 hours. So you take your 730 hours, don't judge my 1980s calculator, and you divide by 17 awake hours a day. And the person who's dealing with a negative voice for 2 hours a day spends 43 days a year, a month and a half, stuck. So this person who may be one of the top mortgage professionals in their office, maybe they're just starting off, right? A lot of times I think there's a misperception like, oh, he coaches all these people. No, I coach some people that are new to it. I don't care who you are. You're world class already. My role is to peel off the layers. So this person right here, it's a month and a half. So whatever she or he has done, personally and professionally, they've done with a 10 and a half month year. So what is she gonna do when we get that down to like 5 days a year? She's just found a month of execution time, a month of becoming a mortgage coach ninja, a month of eye contact with the cutie when she's showing you the art. Oh my gosh, honey, I can't believe you made that thing. It's like family, personal development, charity. You can do whatever you want with time if you have it. But if you don't know that, all you're doing is just trying to get through. I just need to get through. Just gonna get through these busy times. I just need to get to the other side of it. Don't do that. What we want to do is own this, even though it makes you cringe. That number should make you cringe. I'm going to be candid with you as your coach right now. I'm your coach right now. Today I'm your coach. That number should make you cringe. If it doesn't, check your pulse. That should be highly irritating. Not at me for delivering, don't shoot the messenger. Not at yourself, at your negative voice. And then when you start equipping yourself with the tools and strategies to pull that back, it is game over. It's the same thing whether you're talking pro athlete, college athlete, executive, rock star mom, which I believe is the hardest job on the planet. When you get her or him to see this and to get irritated enough, keyword, right? We transform, we hit a certain level of irritation. We're like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to evolve. Boom. And then you act on the tools and strategies. This is profound. Then you start doing this for your team, most importantly, your home team. I kid you not, it's game over.
So powerful. And I mean, I think, positive people, to your point, you said you only had a few people where it was minutes, almost everybody, it's hours. And then when you think of negative people, I mean, it's a lot of hours. And then you also, the other thing I started thinking about is, while you may only be in this negative voice for, I don't know, a few minutes within an hour, it reduces the productivity of that entire hour. So really, like, your math was like easy math. You were only counting the actual negative voice time, the ripple effect of that negative voice and the lack of productivity. It de-amplifies everything about you. So this is super powerful. So Jonathan, just for a time check, we got 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure we just get everything we can out of you on this topic. Do you feel like you've covered the concepts? And then I know I want to make sure we have time to give people some very tactical, and maybe it's just a reminder of what you've given them, but a very tactical playbook to optimize your positive voice. If you know, everybody listen to this, the number one differentiator, according to Jonathan, and I believe him, I mean, it makes total sense to me. I will, every time someone asks me going forward, Dave, what's the difference between the best and the rest? How I've answered that in the past and how I will answer that after today will be different. But knowing that, anything else you need to unpack from a concept? And then please make sure you give us the checklist so we can all just make sure we got the playbook going forward.
Awesome. I'm going to mention two things. I strongly suggest everyone does this once a month. This is a data point. You're a numbers person. You're a mortgage professional. You know numbers. We love numbers. I love data. That's how I coach. I coach on data. There's a qualitative aspect to it, but I want data. I want to know the athlete or the executive is trouncing it. We want this number to be coming down. And so take it once a month. The other thing that I will just say, and I have so many examples of this, nothing, you could do the exact same business operation. Don't change anything. Don't change any scripts. Don't change anything. And you could absolutely multiply your results. I'll just use a mortgage professional who reached out to one of my coaching clients. And my coaching client called me and said, I just had a guy from my office say, he's honestly afraid he's going to have a heart attack. He's young. He's 39. He asked me if he can talk with you, which when I hear that, I'm not like, oh, okay. Like, I'm like, send me a cell phone number. I'll call him right now. So I called him. I don't want to unpack it. I'll just say that call was in October. He had done 3 million that month. He did 11.3 last month. He just capped 12 for May. Nothing's changed. He's got the exact same team. He dropped like 16 pounds over that time, totally dominating who's at the podium. And he's honestly just getting started. And you could go, oh, that's just one example. Everyone I've ever coached with, you just take them through this process. And it's not my theory on behavioral change. It's leveraging Dr. Prochaska's 40 plus years in the space and then applying it correctly to an individual, an athlete, or a mortgage professional, or anyone else I'm blessed to serve, and watching them go through this process of the tools and strategies to then take the podium back, which I know was what Dave's question was. Todd, do you have any questions or thoughts before I unpack some tools and strategies here at the end?
I don't want to distract us. I'll save my question for the end if we have time.
Okay. So I already mentioned one, super simple, avoid the news. That's number one. Number two, build it into your morning routine to nail your voice choice. I have a whole morning routine. I will not unpack it for time's sake, but one of the key things I say to myself is, I'm gonna listen to my positive voice. It's gonna be an awesome day. And then my feet hit the ground. And then I do periodic check-ins throughout the day. Who's at the podium? Who's at the podium? Okay, cool, positive voice, cool. What do I do? I'm prepping for the call with these guys. This is awesome. And then you're in this perpetual state of checking in. So you wanna make sure it's built into your morning routine. And then you either wanna set a reminder up on your phone, or if you're old school, you have a calendar, write it in there. Just a podium check, right? PC, podium check at 10, noon, 3, 5. Here's the most important time for the podium check. There's two of them. Number one, when you wake up, for obvious reasons. Number two, before you go and serve the most important team on the planet, your home team. I know this is brutal as mortgage professionals. No. I haven't been able to focus on them. They deserve your A game. Do a podium check before you leave. Like, we're home, right? It's maybe used to be in the car. Maybe you could listen to some music or motivation tapes. Now you like walk out the door. Hey kids, dogs barking, whatever. Do a podium check. Is my positive voice at the podium? Then you can go out and serve the home team the way they deserve. Super like tough topic, right? Like, what does that mean? He's judging me? No, we're all humans, right? We're juggling a lot. Life is nuts. But they need the A game. Don't give everyone else the A game and they get stuck with the B plus thing. Don't do that. Well, I can't have both. Yeah, you can. It's a myth. when you take back your 43 days, of course you can have both. Dave or Todd, you want to add anything? I know we have like 5 more minutes, tools and strategy wise, but anything you want to add to that?
I'm loving it, man. This call is powerful. You got 1 and 2. Is there a 3 or 4?
I think the most important thing is to celebrate your wins. We're very quick to judge when we don't get a win, and then we blow off our wins, right? Like you met with the Smiths, they were like, "We love your vibe. We'd be so excited. We want to partner with you. We'll sign the documents right now." And then you go, "Awesome. I love your vibe too. We're going to find your dream house." Boom, you get everything signed. You leave, you go back to your desk. You get like 20 seconds of like, "Yeah, that was cool." And then, "Oh my gosh, look at all these emails. I have 11 emails." And your negative voice is like, "Oh, let's focus on what's wrong here." Your positive voice is like, "That was awesome. The Smiths were great. We're going to get in the house. How sweet was that?" And you don't take that win. As an athlete, I keep my Boston Marathon. I gift them away eventually, conversation for a different time, but I keep it on my desk for a week. And you come in my office and be like, "Why does he do that? He's done it a bunch of times. Why does he care?" I want to be proud of that thing. And not just, I don't mean ego. I want to be fired up. Next person I get on the phone with, I'm looking at my Boston Marathon. "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I was blessed to do that again." We want to celebrate our wins because our wins fuel our self-worth. They fuel our vibe. They fuel our energy. And then we use that energy to then get that podium choice correct. So we want to celebrate our wins. The next thing I'll mention is not everything's up for debate. All of you who are parents, you know this. Sometimes the kids, right? "Well, Dad," and they keep asking, and you have to do that. Like, it's a tough parenting, but sometimes you're like, we're not going to discuss it. We're leaving at 9 for your game. There's going to be traffic. Not everything's up for debate. People give their negative voice. "Well, okay, can we go over the weigh-in again? It's Friday at 1 p.m. Some of you are still getting this tap, tap, tap. Hey, can we go over that weigh-in on Monday? How about that? You gained a pound." Not everything's up for debate. Sometimes you just need to shut off the bully and walk away. We're not going over it again. I call them thought loops. These thought loops we play. "Oh, you remember the Smiths you met with? You blew the meeting, you had them, and then they said, 'We think we're going to pass.' Can we go over that from Tuesday?" No, we can't. I'm focusing on the Joneses that are coming in at 3 p.m. and nailing that. I'm not talking about the Smiths anymore. We get to cut off the conversation. And then the last thing I'll mention, the last tip. And by the way, my coaching style isn't like, "Listen to this grand thing." It's super simple. Simplicity wins. Simple. Here's the last one. Embrace being a leader. If you're breathing, you're a leader. My definition of a leader is if you are in a position to be observed by others, you are a leader. And when you're a leader, you show up different. You stand different. You have different eye contact. You have a different vibe. You are a leader. You're being observed. And I would argue during the health situation, you're being studied. We studied leaders during stormy waters. You're being studied right now. And if as a human being, that should stir the pot. I'm going to lead. I'm going to show people what it looks like to be positive and energized and on fire, and to get my energy up, invest time in my self-care to get my energy, nail the podium choice, get that voice choice correctly, have empathy for my employee. Like Dave mentioned, that executive running someone over. That's not the world-class version of that lady or guy. They just have the tools and strategy to be like, "It's not a big deal. It's a teachable moment. We got to explain that if we said we're going to lock them, we got to lock them. Let's figure this out." Anyway, I'll stop at that. You guys want to jump in with any final thoughts or questions?
Well, dude, this call has been amazing. I hope everyone in the mortgage coach community will share this with your friends, your family, the people that you lead. I hope you'll re-listen to this. I can tell already that I'm going to need to write an article on it. It's one of those pieces of content where you want to learn it so much that you own it and you can lead. Let's face it, when you can take content and actually teach it, you own it. Jonathan, if anyone wants to hire you as a coach, they want to learn more about you, they want to follow you on social media, what are the best ways for folks to reach out to you to, get coached by you or to learn more from you?
They can go to peaklockin.com, just like it sounds, peaklockin.com, and they can learn about coaching, how I guide teams. We have retreats up at our property in Vermont, and they can also connect with me directly on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I will just say this is how I operate. If I can serve any of you in any way, reach out to me. If I can serve you, your spouse, your mom, your family, anyone, your real estate professional partner, I don't ever go in, do you want to coach? I don't need to do that. Deliver, serve, tools, strategies. I can call anyone and get them to turn their state. That's one of my superpowers. I'll do it for you, and it won't be, well, then did you want to use me for, nope. How can I help you personally, or your team, or your clients, or your family? Reach out to me. It's so amazing what happens once this clicks. I know it sounds ridiculous. It is game over, and all of you will have an absolute blast. You will trounce it personally, you will trounce it professionally, and then you will gift this to whoever you're blessed to lead. Most importantly, your family.
Dude, you knocked it out of the park. And I think this is the third or fourth time I've interviewed you this year. Every time has been amazing. I am going to officially create a Jonathan Roche playlist in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. So for some of the most iconic leaders in our community, we have a couple playlists. I think this will be the fifth or sixth one that I've created. So there will be a playlist if you want to listen to other interviews I've done with Jonathan. But guys, reach out to him. Make sure you follow this guy on Facebook. If you are looking for a new coach, even if you have a coach, Jonathan's a mindset coach. I mean, he is all about peak performance, health. So make sure you follow up with this guy if you get value from him. Todd, wrap it up for us, brother.
I'm so inspired. First off, I'll be super transparent. Jonathan will never tell you who he coaches. I actually recently hired Jonathan as my coach. So I believe in what he talks about, but I'm inspired again and reminded by his story of the originator who was doing $3 million, feeling like he was going to have a heart attack at the age of 39 6 months ago, and is now doing $11-12 million. It reminds me of really when I fell into Win by Noon, and I fell into it out of frustration, right? I fell into it out of that negative being stuck at the same production level for 3 straight years. And it was a good production level, $80 million. But by actually pushing my mindset forward and turning off that voice and turning off those distractions, I grew my business in 1 year, 44% to over 115 million, which was a whole lot more fun of a number. And it's just this whole idea of taking back the podium. So I would do what Dave just said. I'd go back and watch this. I would be sharing this. I would be internalizing this and figure out how you can take it to the next level. Jonathan, I'm super grateful for you and looking forward to our call today.
Awesome. Awesome, Todd. Thank you very much. And Dave, thanks for giving me the opportunity to serve the mortgage coach community. Remember, I'll finish with this. If you're breathing, you're already world-class. My role is to get you to peel off the layers. And all we're going to do is just reveal who you've been all along. Nothing's wrong with you at all. If you've struggled personally or professionally, it's simply tools. Most importantly, the voice choice. Once you go through that process, it's game over. And again, as Dave pointed out, it's about today and moving forward. Throw your rear mirror out the window. You now have the tools and strategies to go get after it and to win personally and professionally and attain peak performance lock-in.
This call was amazing. Thank you, Jonathan. And this call is a wrap. Take care, everybody. Have an awesome day and an amazing weekend. I will be interviewing Renee Rodriguez on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. So check that out. Have an awesome weekend. Take care, everybody.
Good seeing you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.